A very good morning, class. Today we will be dealing with again which lecture we were discussing in our earlier class was in relation to the scheme of transport property, Act 1882, and the important definitions. In our earlier class, we dealt with the definition of immovable property under Section 3, Interpretation Clause, and we found that the immovable property is not been defined under transfer of property. But what does it simply says that what it does not include, that is to say, what it excludes. It excludes the standing timber, growing crops, or a grass. Apart of that, everything would be included in the definition of immovable property. But because it is not been now given over here, what would be included under the definition of Transfer of Property Act, it becomes very important for us to understand to define the term immovable property, how it has been defined, where it has been defined, and what are the decisions of the court proven to be the source in defining the term immovable property. As from the definition itself, we knew that it does not include the standing timber, growing crops, or the grass. That is to say, the definition is not comprehensive nor it is exhaustive, but it only excludes a certain things. That is to say, the certain things cannot be considered to be the immovable property. So, for us, Section 3 immovable property definition is concerned. If we take into the other definitions which has been provided in some different acts, that is to say, the Registration Act of 1998 and the General Clauses Act, we find that immovable property has been defined there. If we take into consideration the definition which has been provided under the Registration Act of 1998, the term immovable property means and includes the land, the building, the hereditary allowances, the right to ways, lights, ferries, fisheries, or any other benefits to arise out of land or things which are attached to the earth or permanently fastened to the earth, which is attached to the earth. That is to say, here again, the things, not only the objects which we could see, but also the things or the benefits may be intangible or intangible arises out of the land or of things tangible or intangible in nature attached to the earth or permanently fastened to the earth is called as immovable property. But again, while dealing with this definition, we have to keep it in mind the definition which has been provided under Transfer of Property Act relating to immovable property says that the immovable property does not include standing timber, growing crops, or grass. Here also, it does not include in the definition of immovable property, the definition is provided in the Registration Act 1998. If we take into consideration the definition which is provided under the General Clauses Act, the definition relating to immovable property shall include land, benefit to arise out of land, and the things attached to the earth, or permanently fastened to anything which is attached to the earth. Again, though there is nothing new introduced in this particular definition, but again, it says that this definition is not exhaustive. It could be said that this definition is not exhaustive, but only illustrative, showing that certain physical objects or the things could be included under the term immovable property. Now, what are the things though would be covered under the land? Because land is considered to be public property. So there are certain things which become a part and parcel of the land. Because they become a part and parcel of the land, they are also covered under the land. Now, what are these things? Firstly, land means determined portion of the surface. When we say determined portion of Earth's surface means what? Decided portion of the Earth's surface. This piece of land, 1500 square feet piece of land will be Earth. Next is column of a space above the surface. Whatever we do the construction above the surface, would again become a part and parcel of the particular land and hence will be covered under the definition land enters indirectly under immovable property definition. Next is the growth beneath the ground beneath the surface. The ground beneath the surface means what? The under surface area of the land. A part of that, all the object either on or under the surface of the land in their natural state. Whatever the things, whatever the objects which are placed under the land surface, which are placed in the natural state or by the nature itself, for example, the minerals, then in that case it will be considered to be a property and is covered under the definition of the land. So, land further includes the lakes, rivers, ponds, which are the areas of which are the land which are covered by the and hence this would also be considered the land, that is to say, immovable. Next one is all objects which are placed by human agency. In the above point, we saw that the objects which are placed by the natural state, placed in the natural state, placed by the nature. But now, whatever the objects which are placed by the human agency, either on or under the surface of the land, with the intention of permanent annexation. With the intention of permanent annexation. That is to say, we are not going to remove it from there. We have with that intent actually placed it on or under the surface of the earth or on under the surface of the land to be considered right. With permanent annexation, these objects become a part of land and thereby loses their separate identity. Example may be taken of any building, fencing or a wall. If it could be removed, does it would be having any of the identity? No, it would not be having any of the identity. It would be not considered to be a land, but it would be considered to be a land till the time it is standing over the land that is fixed or annexed in the land. It would be considered to be a immovable. Now let us see the benefit which are arising out of the land. How it would be considered to be immovable. Now we have a right to collect a lag, leaf, etc. from the trees. This is nothing but a immovable property. Next is revenue from the agriculture land. Whatever the revenue, we sow the crop, we harvest the crop, and when doing so, we generate somewhat a revenue out of it. So, whatever the revenue which we get from agriculture land will also be considered to be a benefit arising out of the land, and such a benefit arising out of the land will become a part of the land. Next is the right to take out the minerals. Without permission, we cannot take out that particular minerals, and if the land is not there, from where we can take out the minerals. So minerals are found in the land. So right to take out those minerals will also be considered to be a immovable property. For the reason that right cannot be given to everyone. It is given to only a limited person who makes a tender, who apply for the tender, who get the tender. Only that particular person gets a right. And hence, the right to take out the minerals is nothing but a benefit arising out of the land. And this benefit arising out of the land will be considered immovable property. Then the next is right to collect fish from the pond. Similarly, here is a situation. Next is debt secured by the mortgage of immovable property. Now, mortgage of immovable property means what? We are mortgaging our property to someone. We are mortgaging our immovable property to someone. And on mortgaging our property, we are taking somewhat a debt from that particular person. This debt we got only for the reason that we was having an immovable property and we mortgaged the same. And hence, this is nothing but a benefit which is arose out of that particular mortgage land. Hence, this will also be considered to be an immovable property, because without mortgaging we are not going to get a debt, and hence if it cannot be parted from that immovable property. Once parted, it would lose its identity, and hence this would be considered to be a immovable property. Next is rent from the tenanted property. If suppose we give a property on a rental basis, so whatever the rent is coming out of that particular property is nothing but the benefit which is getting aroused out of that particular land, and the benefit arising out of that land is nothing but to become a part of a land itself, and hence will be considered under the definition of become immovable. Likewise, whatever the benefit which is coming out of that particular land, maybe in the form of tangible property, maybe in the form of intangible property. If it is in the form of a tangible property, we could see it, we could touch it. It is nothing but a corporeal property. If that particular benefit arising out of that particular land is intangible in nature, then in that case it would be incorporeal property. It do not have any of the physical existence. But if they do not have any of the physical existence, means what? They are in the form of a rights. These rights under which certain benefits are given to certain persons. And this particular rights are in the form of a beneficial interest or a right to certain people. For example, any right which is exercised over a land by which one makes a profit or a gain is called as a beneficial right of the person. Hence, it will become an intangible, immovable property of the person. If we go through the various judgments given by the court, we can see here Anand Behra versus Taylor 1969. In this case, the land definition was so much, the immovable property definition was so much discussed that these are the rights considered to be a part and parcel of the benefits arising out of the land. For example, right to enter upon the land, right to carry fish from the pond, right to graze over the land of the another is a profit, right to enter upon the land and remove trees, a contract for the purpose of killing, cutting, and removing bamboos from the forest area for the purpose of converting the bamboos in a proper pulp, right to ferry, right given to a rare lake, right to take mineral from the land. All these are considered to be a immovable property. Now, if we take into consideration the sentence, things attached to the earth would also become a part of a land, or indirectly would be considered to be immovable property. Then how the thing could be attached to the earth? If it is rooted in the earth, if it is embedded in the earth, if it is attached to what is so embedded for the permanent beneficial enjoyment of that to which it is attached. For example, if we talk about rooted in the earth, then in that case, trees and shrubs. If we talk about embedded in the earth, then in that case, it is a case of wall or building. If we take into consideration attached to what is so embedded, then in that case, whatever the thing which we permanent for the permanent beneficial enjoyment we attach in the earth and thereby enjoy the same permanently, it is called as a thing attached to the earth. On the basis of that, now we can bifurcate. What are the immovable properties and what are the movable properties? With regard to immovable property itself, first, if we talk about the immovable property attached to earth, is right to ferry, right to pay, right to collect rent of immovable property, right to catch and carry away fish, hereditary office of hereditary priest of temple, the right to collect dues from holding a fair on a piece of land, a right to collect lac from the trees, right of redemption and mortgage property, reversion in property lease, of factory, the interest of mortgagee in immovable property. would be considered to be immovable property. If we take into consideration what are the movable properties arising in the immovable property, then in that case a royalty, a decree for a sale of immovable property, a decree for the arrear of the rent, a right to workship, a machinery which is not permanently attached to the earth, government promissory notes, right to recover maintenance allowance, standing timber, growing crops and grass. All these will be considered to be a movable. Now, the next definition which we are going to consider in this definition part section 3 is the definition of instrument. Now, what do we mean by the term instrument? In legal, instrument means a document. But more specifically, in legal, the instrument means a legal document. So, instrument here is a legal document. It is a non-testamentary instrument. Non-testamentary instrument means what? It is not a document which is made by will, according to the section 3 of Transfer of Property. It is a non-testamentary instrument. Next is this act does not deal with the testamentary transfers. Right? It act does not deal with the testamentary transfers. Testamentary transfers means what? A testamentary transfers means by will. So, whatever the document by which a property could be transferred from one person to another, but which is a testamentary, then in that case it could not be covered under the definition of property act. That is beyond the purview of property act. And therefore, this act does not deal with the testamentary transfers like will. For that, we have an Indian Succession Act, right? Next is, it is not only an evidence of transfer of property mentioned in it, but it signifies the transfer of property as such. By entering into a transaction relating to transfer of property, we not only transfer the property, but we transfer all the rights relating to that particular property, the rights which are of immovable in nature from one person to the another. Hence, it could be said that it is not only an evidence of transfer of property mentioned in it, but it signifies the transfer of property as such. So, I hope you have understood the lecture. We had a good discussion about what is by the term immovable property. The question exam, the university examination paper always have this particular question: define the term immovable property. What is covered under the head immovable property? What is not covered under the head immovable property? And discuss at length the concept of immovable property and the transfer of property act. So I hope you have understood the thing. Thank you very much. For any questions, let me know.